Hello everyone, welcome to another video on our channel News Faster. We're back with more tributes. This video features a list of American big celebrities who died recently or within the last few days. Number 1. Don Bosel. According to the National Football Foundation and his family, Don Bosel, an All-American fullback who helped Miami reach number 6 in the 1956 Associated Press poll and was inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame, passed away on Thursday. He was 88. Bosel passed away in Atlanta on Wednesday after 8 years of NFL football. According to a press release, Don Boseler's talents helped the Miami football program achieve national prominence in the 1950s, stated Archie Manning, chairman of the National Football Foundation. An All-American, he epitomized toughness, earning the nickname Bull, and you can still find his name in the records books at the U nearly 70 years later. In 1957, Bosel was selected by Washington in the first round and selected 9th overall. Over the course of 8 NFL seasons, he ran for 3,112 yards and 22 touchdowns. In 1959, he made it to the Pro Bowl. Paul Hornung, the first overall pick, and Jim Brown, the 6th overall pick, were among others selected before Bosel in that 1957 draft. After the draft, Bosel called both of them to find out what they had signed for, and he was able to get Washington to offer them a $10,000 deal with a $500 signing bonus. According to his son Greg Bosel, and in typical Don Bosel fashion, he came home with that $500 and spent it all with his University of Miami teammate friends in one night, Bosel said Thursday. I think they had a good time. Don Bosel was widely recruited while playing football in high school in Batavia, New York, which is close to Buffalo. After a few weeks, he almost left Miami because he was homesick. After gathering his belongings, he made his way to the train station. Don Dorshimer, a fellow running back and his roommate, left a message for Miami coach Andy Gustafson. Dorshimer declared, "Boseler's on the loose." Gustafson hurried from his home, arrived at the train station, located Bosel, and begged him to return for one more day. "And the rest is history," said Greg Bosel. The bags were unpacked. In addition to leading the team in rushing as a junior and senior, Bosel was selected as Florida's finest player, made the first team AP All-American in 1956, and won the Senior Bowl MVP award. He guided Miami to a 27 victory over the Florida Gators in 1956, one of his best games. The Batavia NY Bulldozer raced up 148 yards on the ground, 23 yards more than the entire Gator team, scored 2 touchdowns, intercepted 1 pass, recovered 1 fumble, was impregnable on defense, and quick-kicked once for 47 yards. Joe Kolb, the sports editor of the Fort Lauderdale News, wrote on the previous day, "Is that all America or isn't it?" In the end, Greg Bosel decided to play football for the Gators in Florida. Over the years, father and son have laughed about the choice, and Don Bosel respected it. Greg Bosel once remarked, "I was not anywhere near as talented as my father." Don Bosel remained in Miami after football until his last years, at which point he relocated to Atlanta. In addition to being a prosperous stockbroker, he was inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame in 1990 and the Miami Sports Hall of Fame in 1970. The Hurricanes' Ring of Honor also includes his name. After all this time, that people still recognize the name is certainly a treasured gift for all of us at this point, said Greg Bosel. "My dad was my hero." Number 2. Elwood Edwards. An announcer and local TV employee, Elwood Edwards passed away. He gained international recognition as the voice of AOL's "You've Got Mail" prompt, which millions of people heard at the start of the Internet era. He was 74. He passed away at his New Bern, North Carolina, home on Tuesday. According to his daughter Sally Edwards, stroke complications were the cause of death, as reported by the New York Times. "You've got mail! Welcome! Files done and goodbye" are just a few of the notifications that Edwards recorded for Quantum Computer Services, which would later become itself AOL back in 1989. The gig paid him $200. At a time when the internet was a big new world for most people, Edwards' voice made AOL feel a little friendlier, a little more welcoming, the company said in a statement. AOL is now a part of Yahoo, which is 10% owned by Verizon and 90% owned by Apollo Global Management. In 2016, Edwards discussed his renowned voiceover work for AOL in an interview with CNN's Great Big Story. Edwards stated, "It began as a test, just to see if it would catch on. They once claimed that my voice was heard over 35 million times every day." According to a post on the station's website on Thursday, Edwards spent 14 years as a graphics guru, camera operator, and general jack-of-all-trades at WKYC's 3 News and NBC-affiliated TV station in Cleveland. 2016 saw Edwards' retirement. According to WKYC, he passed away the day before turning 75. The 1998 romantic comedy You've Got Mail, which was directed by Nora Ephron and starred Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks as two Manhattanites who initially connect on AOL, is one example of how Edwards' voice remained a cultural icon for years after he recorded the AOL prompts. Edwards voiced an internet doctor breaking the awful news, "You have leprosy," in a 2000 episode of The Simpsons. Number 3. Jim Hoagland. Washington Post journalist Jim Hoagland passed away on November 4th at a Washington hospital. According to the Post, his intrepid reporting and erudite columns were twice honored with the Pulitzer Prize and made him for decades a leading voice in world affairs. He was 84. The Post claims that Hoagland first went overseas after graduating from college on a Rotary scholarship, which took him to France. He started his schooling in a 2-room schoolhouse in South Carolina. In 1966, he was employed by the Post, where he quickly established himself as one of the leading foreign journalists of his generation after discovering that newspapering gave him a way to see and comprehend the world. When John Anderson, his editor on the foreign desk, won his first Pulitzer Prize in 1971 for his dispatches from South Africa on the fight against apartheid, he told the Associated Press, "Give him an airline ticket and stand back." At the time, Hoagland was just 31 years old. The first of his several overseas postings was in Africa, where he served from 1969 to 1972. Hoagland worked as a Middle East correspondent in Beirut for a large portion of the 1970s before settling in Paris, where he established himself as a sophisticated francophone and seasoned francophile. He spent a portion of his life in Paris. He rejoined the Post's main newsroom in the 1980s to oversee the foreign desk, where he shaped the publication's global coverage and developed a new generation of foreign journalists. He posted a notice on a bulletin board encouraging any reporter interested in abroad assignments to visit his office, never forgetting his own desire to travel when he first began out. In the later years of his employment, Hoagland contributed his international interests and knowledge to a syndicated column. He also worked for the publication as a diplomatic correspondent. According to the Post, the column's audience included diplomats and officials who influenced foreign policy, in addition to those who were interested in it.